Hi everybody. Let's break down the parcours of the 2025 Giro d'Italia, the 108th edition of this Grand Tour, which will start on May 9th, covering 21 stages, good for 3,400 kilometers, and according to the organizers, roughly 52,500 meters of elevation gain, which is nearly 8,000 meters extra compared to last year's edition. Notable GC riders having the Giro on their roster include Adam Yates, Ayuso and Dani Martinez at UAE, the Roglic-Hindley duo at Red Bull Bora, Simon Yates at Visma Lease Bike, Landa for Quickstep, Bardet and Poole at PostNL, Carapaz at EF, Derek G at Israel Premier Tech, and Tiberi at Bahrain Victorias. For this year, we will try to get a Cycling Guy Zweeler subleague going for the Giro d'Italia. I've probed interest and at the moment we are 5. So if we get 5 more people, we can get a full sub-league going. If you're that person, drop a line in the comments. The Giro will start in Albania with a 164k stage with slightly over 2000 meters of elevation gain, and the Surrel climb featuring twice in the finale, roughly 5k at 5.4% average, yet with the first k at 8%, which will thin out the peloton big time. The Wout van Aerts of this world should be able to hurt people here to then finish it off in a sprint of a small group. On stage 2, the riders get presented the first of 2 individual time trials. This first one is short, 13.7k and fairly flat. Halfway through, there's a 1k long incline at 6% average. Overall, there's around 115 meters of elevation gain on this stage. It is a city parcours and there's roughly 9 90-degree corners and 3 U-turns for the riders to contend with. I'm expecting a Visma Lease bike rider to take this one, either Van Aert or Raffini. On stage 3, a lot can happen, and even though there's a chance we'll get to see a team controlling this stage to defend the pink jersey, it is not unlikely in my book for this one to go to the breakaway. The first 60k runs slightly uphill with multiple ups and downs and ending with a 2k 9% climb at the 65k mark. 60k further, there's an 11k climb at 7% average gradient, from the top of which there's 40k to go to the finish, the last 15 being flat. In total, there's around 3000 meters of climbing on this 160k stage. Stage 4 is a classic sprint stage. Some of the fast men having the Giro on their roster at the time of recording are Kooi and Van Aert at Visma Lease Bike, Gerben Thijssen at Intermarché, Fretin at Cofidis, Sam Bennett at AG2R, Van Ude at PostNL, Magnier at Soudal Quickstep and Pedersen at Little Trek. The men's Giro has finished twice before in Lecce, with big Italian stars taking the win, Cipollini in 98 and Petacchi in 2003. Stage 5 runs over 145k and has around 1500 meters of elevation gain. This should once more be a sprint. Former winners in Matera are Degenkolb and De Maar. There's a lot of opportunities for the fast man in this first week of the Giro, and stage 6 into Naples is also one of them. At 226k, it is the longest stage of this year's Giro. Stage 7 runs through the Apennines and is the first 4-star stage. It's also the first stage with an uphill finish. It runs over 170k with nearly 3,500 meters of climbing. The riders will start climbing straight out of the gate. 7k at 6% average is the perfect terrain for the right riders to get into the break. And if it doesn't happen here, the Monte Urano will be a perfect jumping board, 4.5k at 9.3% average, followed by another 22k of climbing at mellow gradients. The finish climb will be the first category climb of this year's Giro, running over 12.6k at 5.4% average, which is a bit deceiving given that the final 3k are going up at 9% average. I do expect some GC action here, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's for the stage win. On to stage 8 then, nearly 200k and 3,800 meters of elevation gain. The stage goes up out of the gate and continues doing so all day. The most notable obstacle on this stage comes halfway through, where the riders are presented with the second first category climb of this year's Giro, the Santa Maria Maddalena Pass, 13k at slightly over 7% average. This stage has breakaway written all over it. Also this year around, the riders will be presented with a gravel stage that features much of the Strade Bianche roads in the finale. In total, the riders will tackle 5 gravel sections, good for nearly 30k on the white stuff. In total, there's nearly 2,500 meters of climbing in this 180k long stage. As in the Strade, the riders will tackle the Mura di Santa Catarina before entering the Piazza del Campo. This is a stage for the punchy classics riders. Week 2 starts with a 29k long, nearly flat individual time trial, and with a 14k 8.6% average climb in the middle of the stage, stage 11 has breakaway written all over it. On stage 12, the ward moves back to the sprinters. The first half of the stage is hilly, yet the final 100k cross the Po Valley and are flat. A likely bunked sprint. Also stage 13 is fairly flat, yet the run into the finish, roughly a kilometer at 7.5% average, should benefit a punchy rider. For reference, the finish featured twice in recent history, once in the Giro, won by Gilbert ahead of Contador and Ulissi, and twice in the Giro del Veneto, with Godon winning in 2023 and Corbin Strong in 2024. Stage 14 is another long and flat one. Not much to add here, besides the fact that we can expect quite a sprinters field at this year's Giro, given the high number of chances for them. The final day before the second rest day, we get a 214k stage with nearly 4,000 meters of elevation gain, with a 25k long Monte Grappa midway through the stage. A big day in the saddle, which I'm expecting to go to the breakaway. After 2 easy opening weeks for the GC man, the final week hits out hard. Coming out of a rest day into a 200k stage with nearly 5,000 meters of elevation gain is nothing short but brutal, and makes this the queen stage of this year's Giro. A true mountain sawtooth stage with a mountaintop finish, presenting the riders with 3 first category climbs: the Candriai 10k at just over 7% average, the climb to Santa Barbara 13k at 8.3% average, and straight into the finish climb to San Valentino over 17k at 6.3% average, which is fake news given that there's some steps in the climb. This is money time for the GC man, while at the same time presenting a great stage for the breakaway. And that being said, without knowing the race situation, I'm calling it for the GC man at this point. The suffering continues on stage 17, which should be for the breakaway, climbing out of the gate over the Passo del Tonale and into the mythical Mortirolo, 13k at 7.6% average, cresting with roughly 50k to go into an uphill finale. All in all, good for 5,722 meters of climbing in a 154k stage. The organizers labeled this a 3-star stage, which I personally find very deceptive. Not to say that I think it is a mistake. Stage 18 is short and the ward moves back to the fast man, providing the sprinters with an extra incentive to continue till Rome. After an easy stage 18, the riders move into another 2 brutal stages back to back. Stage 19, the second of 3 5-star stages, 166k and 4,900 meters of elevation gain. The riders are presented with 3 consecutive first category climbs: the Col Secore, 16k at 7.5% average, the Col San Pantaleon, 16k at 7.3% average, and the Col de Joux, 15k at 6.8% average, followed by another 10k of climbing after a short descent. Here again, a break will form, yet with all the climbing in the second half of the stage, they'll need a big gap to make it stick. Which brings us to stage 20, the decisive stage of the Giro, where everything can still be won or lost. Expect all-out GC action on the Colle del Finestre, 18k at over 9% average, climbing to 2,178 meters, and the Cima copy of this edition, comprising 8k of 9% gravel towards the top. The stage has everything for some proper drama. A long and steep climb, the only or category 1 of this Giro, gravel and altitude. What more do you want? From the top, the riders have a brief descent into the final ascent to Sestriere. And the Giro ends with a traditional sprint stage in Rome. Just like last year, we're presented with a Giro that features the toughest stages in terms of climbing in the final week, as you can clearly see from this chart presenting the cumulative elevation gain per stage. So to summarize, and for those of you entering some or another fantasy cycling league, we have 2 individual time trials, and without knowing the actual race situation, I'm expecting 7 sprint stages, 2 punchy stages, 3 classic style break stages, 3 to 4 mountain stages to be won from the break, and 3 to 4 GC days, which combined with the ITTs will be decisive for the general classification. Riders like Roglic and Ayuso find a parcours here that should suit them. Thanks for watching and see you soon.